Today I'd like to talk about how we can use voice exchange when harmonizing. So when you see the soprano is moving up by steps with the scale degree number 1, 2, 3, or when the soprano moves down by step with the scale degree number 3, 2, 1, you can use voice exchange. Voice exchange is a term when two parts are mirroring each other. So when soprano goes up, the bass part should move down. And when the soprano moves down, the bass part should move up. So in that case, the two parts are mirroring each other. So this is the good chance to use the voice exchange by using chord number 7, first inversion. So, and there are also several rules that you need to remember to apply when harmonizing for the voice exchange. The soprano moves up, the bass part moves down, which we already talked about. And then the inner part, which is the alto, and then the tenor, must move down and up. All right. Again, the alto voice should move in a contrary motion, but the inner parts, alto, and then the tenor should move down and up. So these are the rules that you need to apply into harmonizing with voice exchange. So let's start off with the chord progression first. So the perfect way to build a chord progression for voice exchange is 1, 6. Chord number 7, 6, and then back to chord 1. Start off with the C major first. So we're writing down the chord tones first. So C, E, G, and C. Okay, all right. So the bass part, is written by the root. Okay, so that is C. All right, so make sure the bass part move down, right? Okay, so now we're done with this one already there. Okay, now what is chord number 7, first inversion? So 7th chord of C is B, right? So B, D, F, and then B. And so you're gonna have the D, right, on the bass because it's the first inversion. Okay. So you finish with that, and then in that case we have to double the third instead of doubling the root. Okay. All right. So D is already there, and then we tick. All right, because we finish, and then the note is already given. All right. So let's do the chord tones of chord number 1, first inversion. So C, E, G, and C. Okay. So you're gonna have the third on the bass because it's the first inversion. You're done with this. All right, and then also soprano is already ticked because it's already given. All right, so now you have nice voice exchange for the alto part. So soprano moves up and then the bass part moves down. All right, now we have to work on the inner parts. All right, inner parts you have a pattern of going down and up. Okay, so let's start off with the chord number 1 first. Okay, so G and then C. So C here and then G here. Okay, and then B, F. Okay, so F here and then B down here. Okay, so tick, tick, make sure you're using it, make sure you tick. Okay, so now G and C. So G and then C. All right, so now you see the alto is going down and up, and also the tenor going down and up. So this is how you have a voice exchange when harmonizing, when the soprano is going up by step with the scale degree number 1, 2, 3. All right. So now we're gonna do voice exchange for minor key, where the soprano is moving down, which means the bass part should move up. So the two parts are mirroring each other, right? And then we have to keep the inner parts going down and up pattern. So let's write down the chord tones. Before you write down the chord tones, you have to know the difference between the first and then the second chord progression. So once you use chord 1, first inversion, it needs to finalize with chord number 1, root position. If you start off with the chord 1 root position, it should be finalized with chord number 1, first inversion. All right, so let's write down the chord tones of chord 1, first inversion. So A, C, E, A. So you're gonna have the third on the bass because it's the first inversion. All right, and then done and done. All right, okay, and then the 7th chord, the first inversion. So that is G sharp, B, D, and then doubling the third, okay? All right, so you're gonna have the third on the bass because it's the first inversion, and done, done, okay? All right, now let's do the chord number 1 root position. So A, C, E, then A. So A on the bass, all right? So bass part is moving up, all right? And then also soprano is already there, which is going down. So it has a nice mirroring 2 parts, right? And so you tick the ones that you use, A and then C, all right? So we have to keep the inner parts moving down and up, so we don't remember that. Okay, so now E goes there, and then A, done, done, all right? And so you're gonna have G sharp, okay, let me check. D, okay, and then you have a G sharp, okay? Yeah, so both parts going up, all right, okay, and then the next part is E and then A. So now you see the inner parts are moving down, up, all right? So you have to keep the 2 parts which are inner parts moving down and up, right? And then if the soprano moves down, you have to keep the bass part moving up, all right? So that 2 parts, outer voices are mirroring, all right? Okay, so here, soprano moves up, you have to keep the bass part moves down. So you have to always keep the soprano bass part moving contrary motion. And again, the inner parts moving down and up. So these are examples of the voice exchange when harmonizing.